Hi, my name is Brenda Skermont and I'm an independent educator. I currently work with EasyFlow and IBD as my primary brands. So some of the products I'm going to be using in this demo are definitely from them. You will see a few other products as well, and I will go through each one as I'm doing. The reason for this video is a couple of days ago, my daughter Nicole and I, who own a salon called All Lacquered Up Nails and More in Columbia, South Carolina, were watching one of the videos that was on Nicole Atwood's Nail Professional page. And they were showing this watercolor, marbly kind of look that was done using hard gel. And it was a really pretty color, so we were very intrigued by it and began playing with it. And when asked how they achieved it, we found out that it was all done through hard gel. And while that's not really a problem or an issue for me, some people are primarily acrylic users and don't use a lot of gel. So my daughter and I kind of put our heads together because she does use primarily acrylic and wanted to be able to create the same look for her customers. So we started playing around and eventually came up with a way that worked really well. And so today I'm going to share that technique with you, as well as some of the do's and don'ts that we've learned as we've been going along the way and playing with this. And hopefully you'll be able to take away some really good tips. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to reposition my camera and we will get started on the demo. Some of the first items that you'll need to have to be able to do this in acrylic are, of course, acrylics. What I strongly recommend is that when you're doing your customer, if you're a tip applicator or you're working with tips, go ahead and put your tip on, file it and shape it, and put a really thin layer of clear acrylic over the entire nail. That way when the client comes in either for a refill or they want to change their color, what you can do is actually just file past the effect of the watercolor and then, or the marbled effect that we're going to achieve, and you're not going to have to soak off the entire nail. Then what we're going to need is some opaque solid colors. These can either be pastels or deeper colors, but to really get a lot of effect, a lot of times you're going to want something a little bit on the lighter side for your background color. So for today's demo, on one of the nails I'm going to be using from our EasyFlow's Pastel Flower collection, I'm going to be using Morning Glory. On the second nail I'm going to be demonstrating, I'm going to be using EasyFlow's Luminous Lilac from the Ethereal collection. And this one has a pearlescent quality to it, which also gives us a special effect when we're doing this particular technique. Now, I also have a clear powder handy because sometimes you really want a certain part to really pop a little bit, so clear is going to be essential. So for the first nail that I'm going to be demoing is going to be using the Morning Glory. I have my monomer handy, a brush. Also, we're going to be using plastic wrap because plastic wrap is the key to doing this particular design. And I like using the plastic wrap that you can buy on a handle like this at your home goods store or hardware store around the packing materials. It's a nice thin wrap, and I really like the width of this particular style because I can just cut strips across. And so here you'll see that I have cut a strip straight across, and this is the entire width. And this allows me to have plenty of playroom to put it onto my nail. So the first thing that I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to take my nail tip, and I have found that the best thing we can do is to put a thin layer after we've filed and after we've shaped the tip. If you're going to sculpt it, go ahead and sculpt it and put that thin coat of clear down and shape that nail. Then what I'm going to do, the first step, is to take my brush and my liquid, and I'm going to take just a little bit of my base color, and I'm going to put this up at the cuticle area very thinly. That way when I'm putting my acrylic on, I don't have to get really close to the cuticle, and yet the product is still going to blend in. If I get too close to the cuticle, the product's going to squish up and bleed into the cuticle area, making it really difficult to file and shape later on. So my first step is just to put a nice thin layer up around there and blend it and fade it down. Once I've done that, my next step is I'm going to take a pretty wet ball of product, and I want to extend it from right about a quarter or so inch away from the cuticle area and all the way down the nail. So I'm going to use my brush fairly wet so I can pick up a really decent sized ball of product. And then I'm going to place this primarily in the center of the nail and just kind of pull it down. If I feel that I have enough in one ball, I can go ahead and do that. If I want to get just a little bit more, I can go ahead and pick up. I have time to get just a little bit more and put in there. All right, and as you can see, I'm not being cautious about getting it up next to the sides or anything, because once I put my plastic wrap on, my fingers are going to be able to move around a little bit and blend it in. Next thing I want to do is I'm going to start squishing it. So I don't want the product to really flood the cuticle area. I don't want it to run up onto the sides and create a lot of work for me later on. Now I like using a pair of tweezers so that I can kind of come in here and I can just squish the plastic wrap wherever I feel I would like. If you wanted to create like a specific point or something where you're a visual interest, you can do that as well. You can create your valleys and stuff radiating from a certain point. It's totally up to you. So you do have a little bit of time to play with this product before it sets up. Now, one of the things that you will discover as you're working with this is that because the plastic wrap is on top of the acrylic set time is going to be quite a bit longer. So in order to work with that for the terms of this video, what I have done is I have made another one in advance so that we can switch right over to that one. Okay, so on this particular nail, using the same color, what I've done is I've let this one cure and set up, so we're not just sitting here wasting all this time. Now, once the nail has set up a little bit, give it a couple of minutes or so, you want to gently start pulling that plastic wrap back and away from the nail. All right, let's try doing this off of that stand here. And you'll see that it peels away pretty easily. If it's been just a couple of minutes since you put it down, one of the things that you'll have to look for is if the acrylic is sticking to the plastic wrap. If it is, you might want to give it just a couple more seconds before you peel that plastic wrap off. Otherwise, the acrylic is going to kind of lift up and it's not going to give you a really nice finish. At that point, it can still be a little bit tacky to the touch. That's fine. If you're going to do any kind of other effects into the nail, that's going to work to your benefit. But for this particular nail, we're just going to do this straight marbling look. So the second color I'm going to be using is a transparent acrylic color. This one is from our watercolors collection, so it's a very sheer color. And this one is in our what's called brush strokes, and it's a very blue color. So you can see it's pretty deep. What I have done here is I've actually taken some of that color and mixed it with clear to dilute it just a little bit so that it's not quite as vibrant. Once I've done that, now I can go ahead and go back. Now with this particular color, because I haven't mixed with my clear, I'm actually going to use this as my building gel. This is the one I'm going to be, or acrylic, sorry. This is what we're going to be using to create our structure with. So I'm going to go ahead up. I touched the bottom of my pot there. I'm going to go ahead and pick up a ball of product and we're going to place it on the nail. And I like to work with this pretty liquidy at this particular time because I want it to fill all those little ridges and valleys that we've created with the plastic wrap so that we get a nice finish with no air pockets in it. All right, sorry for that little break there. I had to get a different lamp. So where I left off is we're taking our diluted translucent acrylic and we're going ahead and placing that into all those little ridges and valleys that our plastic wrap has created for us, and building the structure of the nail with this color. So I can make it as sheer as I want it to be or as concentrated as I want it to be. And at this point too, if I wanted to, I could even pick up a little bit of the undiluted color and place it in some of those valleys as well. So I'm just going to pick up a little bit more here, create my apex, and blend that in. All right, once that has been completely covered with acrylic, we're going to set that aside and let it completely cure. Once it has completely cured, now it is time to file this nail. So now at that point, I want to make sure that all of my other colors have been removed from my filing area. Everything has been colored and set. And we are going to go ahead and do our shaping of the nail. So I'm going to shape this nail and I will file and be right back with you. Now, one of the things I would like to caution you about is when you're filing, you do want to, depending on the effect, I guess, you want to create. I don't want to file down into every one of those ridges. Oh, you hear some thunder in the background. Looks like we're going to be getting some rain here in South Carolina. So I like to build up enough to where I'm not always filing into my original color, but if you do, that's fine as well, because that's just going to create a lot more highlights and lowlights within the design. Okay, so I'm just going to do this pretty preliminary kind of thing, just so everybody gets the idea. And then I'm going to go ahead and take my buffing block, and on my client, I would make sure that my apex location is good, my structure and everything is very good before doing this particular step. Okay, so once that step is done, now what we can do is we can top coat this nail. And on this case here, I am going to be using Easy Flow's Gel-It Top Coat. It has a nice high shine and a high finish that's going to be long lasting. Okay, make sure that we remove all of the dust from the surface of the nail. Have our clients go wash their hands, and then I'm going to come in with my top coat and we are going to top coat that nail. And as you can see, as we do this, look at the pattern that comes out and just really pops through. It's absolutely stunning. And if you wanted to, you could even use white paint and come in, or blue paint or something like that, and come in and highlight some of those high areas as well. At this point, I would put this nail into my lamp. Okay. Now, another technique that we were playing with this was taking it a step further and doing like a ombre in the background. Another thing that we can be doing is, with this particular technique, is to introduce other elements as well. So if you are doing gel, for instance, and doing this particular design out of gel, it's very easy to come in with your chromes and to do a chrome on top of that. So I'm going to show you next how to do some chrome with this same technique. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to take my color. In this instance, I'm using Luminous Lilac from the Ethereal collection from Easy Flow. And I'm going to prepare my nail the same way. I'm going to buff and remove the shine, shape the nail like you normally would, everything that we had talked about earlier. So just lightly prep the nail, remove any dust from the surface of the nail, and then once again, go ahead and take a small amount of that color for the cuticle area. We want to go ahead and just move that up to the cuticle nice and thin so that when we're putting our thick layer of product down, we're not flooding the cuticle with it. So once we have that on the nail, I'm going to go ahead once again and kind of using a very wet brush, I'm going to pick up a rather large bead of the acrylic and I'm going to place it in the center of my nail about 1/4 of an inch down from where I've done previously, and I'm going to go ahead and put a rather heavy layer of acrylic down, and then I am going to take my plastic wrap once again and we are going to just place this over the nail. Using my fingers, I'm going to come in and I am going to start to kind of squish it up. Now, as you can see on this one, I'm pulling it a little bit differently than I did on the one before. And this one is giving me some really kind of cool vertical lines. Once again, I can come in with my tweezers. And when you're doing on a real person, this makes it nice because once again, you can kind of really come along those edges and make sure you don't have a lot of product there that's going to seep down onto the nail and make filing later on a little bit more difficult. And just move it around a bit until you're happy with the pattern. And that's one reason why I do like this particular really thin plastic wrap, is because you can really scrunch it up and create some really cool effects with it. Okay. Once I'm happy with the way that the wrap has been applied to the nail, we're going to take this one and we're just going to set it off to the side. Let that one dry. Now, once again, I have prepared another tip, and I think this one actually was done with a different color in the background, but that's okay. It's given us the same effect. So I'm going to remove the plastic wrap from this one. And what I'm going to do now is we're going to take this tip, and say I decided that I wanted to put a little bit of chrome into this nail. Now with the acrylic, with the hard gel, when you're working with hard gel, and you take that plastic wrap off, that surface is perfect for applying your chrome powders. And because you're going over it with gel, the gel is not going to disrupt the chrome that you've applied. When you're working with acrylic, the surface here is not going to hang on to the chrome to give you that chrome look, as well as when you go to, if you do get any to stick and you put your top coat or you put your acrylic over the top, the acrylic, the monomer, is going to disperse it and make it more of a powder again that is just going to disperse within your acrylic, and you're going to lose that effect. So if you want to put some chrome onto the nail, what you must first do at this point is take a top coat, a no cleanse top coat that works with your chrome, and using a pretty dry brush so that we're not leaving a lot of product onto the nail, just a little bit, but we're going to apply this wherever we want that chrome to go. And you can kind of get in there and just kind of scrub it into the nail. All right. And wherever you decide you want that chrome to go, that's where you can put this. And then what you're going to do is at that point, we're going to put it in the lamp to cure it. So I will be back in 1 second after it's cured. Okay, so we're back. Our nail has been cured in the lamp. And what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to take some chrome and we are going to burnish it onto the nail in the area that we applied our top coat. So I can just rub that in wherever I want, and it will stick to the areas where I applied my top coat. Okay. Now, once again, if I were to just come right back in with my acrylic, this would disperse and you're going to lose a lot of that effect. So once again, we're going to have to come in, and I do recommend here, instead of top coat, going ahead and using like a base coat, because your base coat will allow your acrylic to stick to it much better. And we want to do a very thin layer of this as well. Make sure that it's just coating the chrome or the powder that we put on to protect it from the monomer. And then once again, this is going to have to go into a lamp. So we'll be back in 1 second as soon as that has been cured. Okay, this has all been cured now. So the base coat that I put on excuse me, is all set, so the chrome will not be disrupted when we put our other color on. Now, sometimes you might say, well, I don't have any transparent acrylics on hand, so what do? One of the things you can do is really dilute a color that you already have. Excuse me. Or if you have any of the inks, you can actually add some ink into your monomer. So here what I've done is I've taken kind of like a brownish sepia color of ink, alcohol inks, and I've added it to my monomer. So now I'm going to use clear acrylic, and I'm going to pick this up with my tinted monomer. And as I do, you can see how it changes the color of the acrylic. So now when I put this on, you'll be able to see the colors underneath shining through, but yet it has given us a little bit of a different shade to it. And once again, when I'm putting this on, I am going to go ahead and build my structure. I am using clear here, so go ahead and make sure that your apex and everything that you need for your structure is there, so that when you're filing, when you're finished filing this, all you have to do is top coat and the nail is finished. Look how cool that's going to look with that little bit of chrome in there. All right, so at this point, we're going to let this nail cure, and we'll be back in just a minute. Okay, so the acrylic has now cured on this particular nail, so we would go ahead and do our filing and shaping, and then I'll be back when it's time to top coat. All right, so I've gone ahead and filed and shaped, buffed it to a little bit, removed the dust. Now I'm going to go ahead and put my top coat on. And here again, I'm going to be using Easy Flow's top coat. This is our No Cleanse. And this is the nail, remember, that we put some of the chrome on, so we should be able to see some of those chrome effects. And we also used the alcohol inks in the liquid so that we got our color. So you can see how those colors just really reflect in the back of that nail. I think it's really pretty. So you can tell me what y'all think. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed today's video showing you that we can do the plastic wrap marbling technique. The two nails that we finished up today one is using a pastel blue with a transparent blue over the top. The second one, we used a shimmer base and then used chrome as well as color drops. Now the color drops that I used are from Wildflowers Ink Collection, and the chrome I used today was in the Aura collection. This is number A1, so just so that you know for reference. And I hope you enjoyed that. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and switch back up. As many of you may have heard, there are some very bad fires going on right now in the Northwest, Oregon, Washington State, and California. I do have some very close friends. Many of you may know her as well, Allie Baker. Her younger son and his fiance have lost literally everything, including all of his equipment for his business that he has. And if this video has helped you in any way, given you any tips or tricks that you can take back to the salon, I do request that you go on to GoFundMe page when I'll post the link at the bottom or after this video. They have set up a GoFundMe page for Jake and his fiance to help them recover from this tragedy. At this time, you know, I look at all of our nail friends as family, and when somebody's down or has difficulties, we all need to kind of rise up and help them if we can. So, you know, I am kind of dedicating anything that is raised from this video. I'm encouraging people to, you know, donate to that cause to help them get back on their feet and recover. So thanks again. And once again, I hope you enjoyed today's